Read the motion in its entirety. Okay,
Oh, we like the chair reading them.
so you are,
It sounds funny.
you are permitted to read because it sounds funny. Well, I'm here for your amusement, John. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, and also today is anti-bullying day.
That wasn't a bully. I'm just saying that we like.
I'm just saying, it's anti-bullying day today, so you keep that in mind. And for those of us who wore pink, yeah, Renee, power to the pink.
Electoral areas, I don't read any motions, I make the director read them all.
You make the directors read them all? There you go.
Because they might want to be a little different than what they're.
That's what Kermit does at council meetings.
Yeah, Kermit does the same thing. I think I'm gonna adopt it because, as you can tell, I'm getting a little hoarse for my birthday. Yeah. Also, you may notice Mr. Leach is not going to be attending today. He's had some air travel difficulty. We'll look forward to seeing him at the next board meeting.
I think the airline is bullying.
The airline is bullying Mr. Leach. That's correct. That's why he could not attend. This part is not being recorded. Is that not correct? Now I'm going to get a call from Air Canada, WestJet.
We are live.
We are live. Excellent. Excellent. We are live.
And we do have a quorum.
And we do have a quorum. Okay, folks, you ready to go? Let's vote. I have confirmation of quorum. Call the meeting to order. Chair acknowledges that we're located on the traditional territory of the Lakota people. Adoption of agenda.
Moved on.
Thank you. Director Wally, Director Rice.
I have an amendment to make to that. I'd like to move item 7 to the closed session.
Do we have a motion on that? We have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Sorry?
Yeah, discussion. I'd just love to know reasoning from Director Rice on why moving it to closed session.
I wouldn't request a closed session if it wasn't needed.
What section I think he's asking?
You're moving it into the enclosed, yeah. When you move something into the enclosed section,
I don't know what the section is.
we'll rely on Mr. Yates. Section 90.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have that for you when we get to the closed session motion.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, petition and delegations, Sunshine Coast Forest Landscape Plan. Jillian and Bob. Do we have Jillian and Bob here? Hi, Bob. Please come over and grab a seat. Representing the Minister of Forestry will make a presentation and propose Sunshine Coast Landscape Plan. You just need to press the button. When the lights up there on your mic, you're good to go. Only when you press the button.
Good afternoon. My name's Bob Craven. I'm a professional forester working on the Sunshine Coast Forest Landscape Plan, representing the Hamalko Nation, one of 5 First Nations that are part of the plan. And today I'm here with Jillian. Is she on?
Yes, hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. Apologies. Thank you, everyone. Yes, along with Bob there in person, I, Jillian Tugas, am attending online. I am the acting district manager for the Sunshine Coast for under Ministry of Forests, and I am speaking from the Sunshine Coast District Office, which is in Powell River, which is on the traditional territories of the Tla'amin Nation. And Bob, would you like me to lead?
Sure, if you wish. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So I'm not sure of everyone's awareness for some of the different initiatives happening in the forestry sector, but one of them was quite a few years ago now, was the forest landscape planning pilot, in which case 4 designated areas were identified to be a part of this change in landscape management. And so we were one of them. And so this includes the Sunshine Coast Timber Supply Area, as well as the Pacific Timber Supply Area within the Sunshine Coast District. And so in this case, this is the Sunshine Coast Timber Supply Area is the purple, and the Pacific Timber Supply Area is the pink. And so these are the areas that we have considered for the pilot and are currently working on. The other areas are either timber forest licenses or community forests or woodlots or treaty land. And so for the Strathcona Regional District, as you can see, that would involve the islands more on the west side, and then following up and basically following north and north over the Clahoose Community Forest, which is the orange, so very much in Jamalco territory. And the goal of forest landscape plans, so Bill 21 and 23 were brought into effect to so that BC could make these changes and work more on a strategic level on managing the land base. And so with this, we're trying to get away from licensees developing forest stewardship plans and leading management on the land base into these forest landscape plans, where it's meant to be a collaborative process between BC government and the nations that would like to be involved in the process. So in this case, BC has been meeting with these 5 core nations, which includes Jamalco, Clahoose, Shishal, Tla'amin, and Squamish over the entire area. And maybe we'll switch over to the next slide, but afterwards, if there are questions, maybe we'll pull this map back up. I find that it's a little more helpful for people during conversations if that's the way that this goes.
Maybe just to add to this, when I was looking at the directors that are involved here today, while a lot of this is focused on the Sunshine Coast, the impact of the planning is important to Campbell River, Courtenay, Cortez, because so many people work in these, in particular when I think of Jamalco territory, lots of forestry consultants, ecotourism suppliers and that live in Campbell River and work in the Sunshine Coast. So that's why it's important to make sure that the Strathcona Regional District is aware of this type of planning process, because it does have impacts to the various communities represented here today.
Is someone able to switch to the next slide? All right, thank you. Oh. Perfect. Oh.
Let me take over for a second.
Next one over, sorry. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, so just for a bit of a timeline for everyone's understanding, this FLP pilot, as well as the other 4, were brought into effect in spring of 2020, which for most seems like quite a long time ago. But during that time, it did take multiple years to grasp what this FLP would potentially even look like, trying, especially BC, trying to organize funding for nation participation, trying to organize policy and guidelines. So took a bit of time to get to where we are now, as well as the bringing First Nations to the table and having that kind of buy-in from everyone that this is a great way to move forward.
Wow.
And so some of you may be aware that in the winter we did have public engagement. There was an open house in Campbell River as well as Seashelt and Powell River to understand the values of the communities. And then this past, so that was in the winter. And then in the spring, we're hoping that a very, very, very preliminary draft of the FLP is ready for technical experts to review. And then we're hoping to have licensee engagement. And then by summer, fall, we're hoping to have that second phase of public engagement. So we were first asking the community to understand their values and feedback. And then when a draft is fully complete and ready to share with the public, we'll be sending that out for a 60-day review. And then also we have to be aware of the provincial government elections that are happening in place, in which case we may have to pause public engagement, waiting for elections, depending on the timing of our process. And then I say this cautiously, but just because things can change, things change every week. But we do have the hope of having a final draft completed by the end of this year. Bob, any comments on that before I lightly go into values? And possibly over time already anyways, but.
No, keep going.
Okay. So just for the group, BC and the nations, one of the major milestones that we took in this process was identifying values. So understanding the nation's values and understanding BC values. And from there, we were able to make or develop kind of a joint vision and value statement. And so this is kind of the framework or the stepping stone in developing an FLP. So most of the values involve watersheds, wildlife, ecosystem health, riparian culture, cedar stewardship, carbon, and as including the forest sector, understanding that equitable, sustainable economy is important, and other factors on here that aren't on here, but cumulative impacts is a large one as well, and carbon and socioeconomic benefits. So there are a lot of considerations being put into this, and we're hoping for a positive outcome. And I'll let Bob speak to more if he'd like.
How's our time?
Okay.
Past, are we over? Okay, yeah, so why it's taking a little bit of time is just the whole balancing there's more or less in the provincial government a paradigm shift looking at items such as ecosystem health and resilience. So we've been trying to deal with that in our planning, as well as what impacts does it actually have on the forest sector, and trying to do that balance, because many of the nations at the table also have licenses to harvest in the Sunshine Coast. So it's a matter, so we have to take everything back to chief and councils, and we're taking items back to our licensees as well, just to try to get that balance. So it's not necessarily an easy task when you're trying to, like in Butte Inlet, for example, there's ecotourism is very important, and so is harvesting. So trying to balance viewscapes so that it doesn't impact tourists coming into the area, but still have a sustainable forest business. So it's taking a little bit of time to do that balancing, and to deal with carbon and stewardship and issues around old growth and amount of cedar for the traditional territories and that. So it's taken a little bit longer than we had hoped, but we're on a pretty good trajectory now that we'll have a first cut at the end of this month. So that's about all I have to add. So open to any questions about the planning. And I know it's like 3 years of planning ingested into 10 minutes, but anyway, there's probably missed a few things.
Board, we'll start with Director Chapman and then go to Director Lanyon.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. You just mentioned that the first cut is going to be happening this year,
It's very rough, but the goal of the 5 nations right now is to have a draft to present to the province February 29th
Okay, thank you.
this year.
Okay, thank you.
Director Lanyon.
Thank you, Chair. Question about the numbers. As in this plan, like it's well explained in terms of the values being used. There's some concern over the overall reduction in cut in British Columbia over the last number of years. So I'm curious if this plan is meant to stabilize that, or raise it, or lower it further.
That's a good question. We know that in trying to deal with ecosystem health and resilience and cultural issues and visuals and all the things that go on, we do expect there will be a cut. What we're attempting to do over time is develop a spatial plan so that when licensees are coming into the area, they'll basically know where they can go and not go. So we will expect a reduction in cut from what we're hearing from licensees, and that is they like the concept that things will be stable, because what's happening now is a licensee will come in and say, can we harvest here? And we sort of say, well, maybe. and then there's the back and forth thing about, does it deal with marble murrelets? Are you dealing with goshawks? Are you dealing with fish? Are you dealing with this and that? We're hoping that this will stabilize it. So all these values that you saw are dealt with. And then really, when someone comes in to look at doing harvesting, their main concern will be, have I dealt with the stand level stuff? Have I dealt with a monumental cedar that's important for a canoe? Is there a small fish stream here? Like the stuff that's right at the stand level. But all the landscape level issues we're hoping to have sorted out. And I think that's what drives licensees that work in Campbell River and other areas a little bit out of their mind, because there's just so many things and there's so many delays because of lots of debates on stuff. We're trying to get that stable. So I think that's worth something. But of course, the proof will be in when we talk to the licensees with this draft, what they say. You know, like the ANA trading, the Interforestry, the BC Timber Sales. All these people are going to be looking at it, and so if we hit the mark, we're hoping that they'll see the value in something that's stable.
One more question. I'm just curious with. Does this plan affect existing cut licenses, or would it just be for newly issued cut permits?
Yeah, it affects the, and I don't want to get too complicated, but there's area-based tenures and there's volume-based tenures. So you've probably heard of a tree farm license. Anything like that is not affected, but what is affected is the volume-based tenures. So it's licenses like the Klahoose First Nations have, Hamalco have, Interfor have, ANA trading. It's those volume-based ones. The area-based ones where you have a particular patch that you can harvest on, those are not impacted. So it's only the areas that are volume-based. Yeah.
So would it affect someone who already had a cut permit? Like, or I guess we're not implemented yet, so it wouldn't. But at the time when it becomes implemented, would there be changes to cut permits that had already been issued?
Well, Jillian probably helped with this one, being the government bureaucrat, but my understanding in any of these legislative changes is that there's always a transition period. So it's not fair if someone's halfway through a process of doing something, all of a sudden tell them, well, you're cut off. So maybe Jillian, you can help on that one. But I think anyone that has a permit in place is protected.
Yeah, so once this forest landscape plan is in place, licensees will have 6 months to a year to develop a forest operations plan. So identifying how they will be meeting the forest landscape plan in their area. And that in turn, once the forest operations plan is in place, then that will apply to their cut permits. I am not positive whether that will affect their current cut permits at that time. that's, again, we're one of the farther pilots in this, and there hasn't been an approved forest landscape plan yet. So there are a couple things that we're still working out, and trying to kind of pioneer that process. So that is a good question. I can't say for certain at this time.
One of the major benefits of this plan is that licensees will need to show spatially on a map where they plan to harvest with roads and cut blocks, where the previous legislation basically just said, well, I'm going to be generally in this area. And there was a lot of public blowback about, I didn't even know you were doing something in our backyard, and now you are. So one of the main things the provincial government said is that you're going to have to show where you plan to harvest, where your roads are, where your harvesting is, and then it'll eliminate the surprises that's happening under the current legislation.
Is it a good one? It better be a good one. Okay.
Last one is, does this have any effect on private lands and logging on those?
No, there's no effect on private lands.
Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for coming and talking to us today. Has there, to this point, you said there was a meeting in Campbell River last year, but has there been any collaboration or court consultation with local government on this?
So we have been trying to schedule meetings with local government. So obviously this is our first meeting with yourselves. We have met with the Cathet Regional District, and we have met with the Sunshine Coast Regional District.
Well, I'm thinking more in terms of local government rather than regional government, which, you know, I mean, as you said before, Campbell River is going to be affected because a lot of people that are working there, contracting there, are out of this community. This is the first I've heard of it.
I mean, government has been notifying the public since 2020. In general, government could definitely improve upon the way we share information and getting it more into the public. Even when we were having our Powell River open house, we were notified that, oh, I wasn't even aware of this. Why didn't you post it on a Facebook page? As that's how a lot of people use the internet these days. And unfortunately, through our government system and legal abilities, we're not able to post on social media sites except for through an approved account on Twitter. So we are a little limited in the way we're communicating to the public, and hopefully these pilots shed some light on that and how we can improve that moving forward. And we have been trying to engage with other local government parties as well. There's only so many email accounts and phone numbers you can contact. So we're still working on that.
Well, just a comment. I mean, as local government, I don't think we are consulted. I think local government should be at the table. I certainly don't trust our senior governments working on our behalf, you know, and I think this is just another situation where we're been told after the fact, basically, yeah, this has been going on and this is what we're going to do. And, you know, and I think we've got to shake that up. And the only way we're going to shake it up is sending the message back through you to senior government that we want to be at the table. We need to be in part of this discussion going ahead. It can't be just delivered to us and that's it. So thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Any further questions? Two more questions and then we'll move on. Director Mawhinney and then Director Sinnott.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Gillian and Bob for being here. I really appreciate that. I did attend your, or I don't know if it was your, but the public open house at Maritime Heritage Centre and learned quite a bit about this process. And it's great to see you here explaining more about it. My question is sort of a two-part question. so the chair's okay with it. I'm curious if there are any other forest landscape plans which are in the earlier stages that are maybe not at the announcement stage or the formal stages like we are here, but that are all also including other areas of the Strathcona Regional District. And then my second question would be that with the understanding that this is a nation-led process, does it provide additional opportunities for input from community members also? It seems to, and is that a part of the process going forward? Thank you.
Remind me of the first question. That was the,
Are there any other
right.
plans within areas of the SRD?
yeah, I believe there are, and maybe Jillian can help with this one. I know there's one, I believe that's with the Hatteras. That'd be out of Sabalas, I think. And of course, one of the ones that's going on currently is the Namgeese one. And I believe, Jillian, is there one on the not North Island, but the Mid Island? Or I'm not, there's another 13, I think, that are starting. And there is some of them on the island. I think it's a combination of both the west coast of the island and east coast, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I believe two are being developed in the Campbell River area. I'm unfamiliar with those, as that is the west coast and we are the south coast, so we are a little regionally subdivided. But if you contact Leslie, the district manager of Campbell River, she's I would say knee deep in that process and can probably provide a lot more information on that. But those are in quite earlier stages. So this one is much farther than theirs. So if anyone hasn't been contacted, it's because they're still organizing guidance and how the policy will move forward and working with the nations.
As far as the second question, there is going to be continual public involvement. The gentleman's question about involvement, when the meeting that you attended, we did get quite a bit of commentary, and we had quite an array of people. We had concerned people from the ecosystem-based management approach. We had people, loggers, concerned about it from a harvesting perspective. We had quite a wide range of people asking questions, and that's what we want. When I say there's an early draft that we're trying to submit to the province, it's very early. And we still need input from communities, we need input from licensees, we need input from environmental groups, from tourism. So there's a lot of input that's going to still be coming in. We're just taking a first cut at it, which is it's a paradigm shift from the way the legislation's been done previous, to have nations involved early, as opposed to being told this is what we're going to do. In this particular case, the nations have had a little more of a say up front about how cultural items need to be dealt with as well. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Director Sinnott for the last question.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. The Chair and I were lucky enough to attend Truck Loggers and speak to the Premier, particularly about the landscape plans and the definition of old growth, which is a great concern for us after a number of the presentations there showing wildfire management and managed forests were an important aspect of controlling that, but it wasn't quite connecting in the sense of the preservation of old growth and then the inherent risks that we're going to face. So what the Premier had suggested is that each of the landscape planning groups were going to be defining the old growth. Maybe it'd be different in the different areas. So I'd like to hear a bit about that, as well as wildfire mitigation management within these plans, to see whether or not, because my understanding, because they were showing the Scandinavian examples, that they actually manage their forests in Scandinavia and have a much lower wildfire rate. But if we go to a complete preservation biome watershed, we can't cut in there. What are we doing with that risk of wildfire? So if you could make some comments on that. And the Premier said that the SRD should be invited to sit on these planning committees. So that was the other one.
Well, yeah, I'm not necessarily a wildfire expert. I used to be in my previous work, but we are trying to utilize the concept of ecosystem health and resilience to try to deal with wildfire management. So we are trying to manage ecosystems to a rate of what happens naturally. So by doing that, we're hoping that to emulate what's happening naturally through our landscape plans, that that'll actually assist with the management of wildfire management. We know as far as the old growth, very sensitive subject, and it's being looked at differently by different nations. So it's a real difficult position. We have nations that are saying they want no old growth to be harvested in their territory. And we have nations that still depend somewhat on some old growth being harvested in their territory in order to have funding to go back to the communities and that. So it's so we're wrestling with that. We're wrestling with that in this landscape, forest landscape plan, and we're going to have to try to deal with it nation by nation in this plan, which we think we can do. But it's not an easy topic because there's not, 210 nations in the province don't all agree about how old growth should be managed. So we're we're trying to deal with that, and the nation that I represent has a slightly different perspective than a few of the other nations in our plan, and we're trying to rectify that as we go forward.
Can I just, my understanding is old growth has sort of got a base number of years of trees, but a lot of this is second growth. It's not virgin original forest. It's just older trees that were planted, or what's your view of where the old growth sort of starts for aging and replanting?
Well, from a provincial perspective, we categorize old growth as 250 years and older, but actually ecologists have told us that that's not necessarily correct. It's not just a number. There's actually the attributes. So if you walk into a forest like on Sonora Island and you see some bigger trees and you see some open snags, lots of lush vegetation coming up in that, the stand could be 200 years old. That could be deemed to be old growth because of the attributes it has. So the government used to just have 250 as a solid, that's it. What we're trying to do in our landscape plan is we're trying to set aside some of the areas that they're not old growth, but they're getting towards old growth. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to recruit old growth into the future. Because as I'm sure the people are aware, like the nations, they think of 6, 7 generations out about what's happening in their territory. And so we're planning, what old growth is existing and what old growth can be recruited over time. So that's how we're managing it.
Great. Director Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Can you hear me? I
can hear you.
Great. Thanks to both of you for this presentation. It's been most enlightening. I don't really have a question to you. It's just a general comment. I know here in Tassus, we're heavily involved with landscape level planning here, meeting with the logging company, meeting with First Nations, making submissions regarding the old growth strategy. And I don't want this to be a criticism to Director Kerr, but I think it's easy for us as politicians to engage directly. We've had Ministry of Forests come to town, and we are quite involved in these processes. And I think that the government is quite willing to engage with us, but we have to engage with them too. So if they see the interest, they will respond. So that's my comment. Thanks.
And the purpose of this was to initiate the conversation. So we're happy to continue to meet and collaborate on if there are any concerns and any values that we haven't considered. So we're happy to meet again with individuals or with council further.
Okay, and you have your contact number, your contact information for those councillors? We can provide it. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Okay, we're going to take a 45-minute break. I'm just kidding. Can I get a motion to receive, please?
Move receipt.
Director Mawhinney, Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Adoption of minutes.
I'll move that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Regional Board held on January 24th, 2024, I'm hoping, be adopted.
Thank you. Director Wally, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Business arising. None. Public consideration, none. Notice of motions, none. Chair's report, none. Consent calendar, none. Number 1, committee chair's report. Electoral Area D, Advisory Planning Commission. Director Wally, did you want to cover that?
Receipt.
Director Wally, second.
Second.
Director Vonish, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. We have a really lengthy agenda today, so we're going to try to get through it.
I'll make a motion that the draft minutes of the inaugural meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission held on January 24th, 2024 be received.
After I was done speaking, then we could have moved forward with it. But that's okay. That's okay. I don't have to finish.
Second.
Second was, we got a combination. Director Mawhinney, Director Rice. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 3, Committee of the Whole.
Move the draft minutes of the inaugural meeting of the Committee of the Whole held on January 24, 2024 be received.
Your microphone, please. Thank you. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Electoral Area C, Advisory Planning Commission.
I'd like to move that the draft minutes of the inaugural meeting of the Electoral Area C Advisory Planning Commission held on February 6, 2024 be received.
Second.
Director Bonish, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 5, Electoral Area Service Committee.
I'd like to move that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Electoral Area Services Committee held on February 14th, 2024 be received.
Second.
Director Rice, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Staff reports. Request for subdivision frontage relief.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Vaughn is second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
I would like to move that proposed strata lots 1 and 2, as shown on the plan of subdivision attached to the February 14th, 2024 report from the Chief Administrative Officer, be exempted from the minimum frontage requirements imposed by Section 512 of the Local Government Act.
perfect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Development variance permit application, DV 5D23.
I'd like to move receipt that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Wally's the second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
I'd like to move the recommendation that B, that the development variance permit DV 5D 23 CRUD, as attached to the February 21st, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer be approved, and that the corporate officer be authorized to issue the permit.
Second.
Director Vanish, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. 3, covenant discharge request, Quadra Island.
I will move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Vanish, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And B,
I'll move that community input from Quadra Island be sought on the proposals to discharge existing covenants prior to the board making a decision.
Second.
Director Wally, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Question.
Oh, go ahead, Director Davis.
I'm just curious if staff can tell us what was the rationale for this covenant in the first place?
Meredith? Come on up.
Thank you through the chair. Not really, because they're historic covenants, and so they predate the SRD in some cases.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
somebody else had a question. Director Mawhinney. Okay, we voted the other one through? Yes. Okay, we're good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move that staff prepare a report for the Electoral Area Services Committee providing information, background, and options on amenity contribution policies for regional districts.
Do I have a second? Director
second that.
Bonish. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Excuse me. Electoral Area D, Development Cost Charge.
I'd like to move receipt that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Wally, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
And I'd like to move the motion B, that a report be prepared for further consideration regarding the options for development cost charges in Electoral Area D.
Director Mawhinney, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 5, Electoral Area A, Noise Control Bylaw.
Move that report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Director Vonleh, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
Move that a staff report be prepared on the issues identified in the February 22, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer concerning the noise control bylaw for Electoral Area A.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 6. Who wants 6?
Move receipt.
Move receipt.
Move receipt of the CAO's report.
Second.
Director Wally, Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, that a report being prepared regarding the options and amending the list of compensable meeting application for electoral area directors. Applicable. Jeez, I'm having a tough day. Pardon me.
Second.
Director Wally, then Director Rice. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. 7 is moved. 8, North Island 911.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Wally, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
Recommend the motion be that the proposed shareholders agreement for North Island 911 Corporation dated September 15th, 2023, and attached to the January 17th, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer be approved.
Second.
Director Wally is second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Land use planning, evaluation of input.
I'll move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Thank you. Director Vonleh, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
I'd like to move that a report be prepared that outlines the process for directors to receive and evaluate input received from community members regarding land use planning issues prior to the decision-making moment, and that the report is returned to the Electoral Area Services Committee for consideration.
Second.
Director Vonleh, discussion. All in, Director Sinnott.
I'd like to know why it goes to the Electoral Areas Commission.
Director Mawhinney.
Well, because I felt like usually we are the ones that are dealing with land use planning issues, and we might have more questions about the concerns or the issues that are raised in the report. And it feels like it's often easier to have that conversation at the committee table rather than at the board table. But if that's something that you want to hear about here too, that's fine.
I just want to understand the process. If it goes back to your committee, will it ever come back to our board?
Yes.
What if it's not voted by the committee back to our board?
Oh, isn't it always? I think Dave said that before.
It's automatically moved back to our board, is it not?
Mr. Chairman, if the committee has any recommendations regarding the process of evaluating or community input, that would automatically be brought back to the board for making a decision or giving direction. So I guess in that respect, it does depend to some extent on what the committee does with the report once it sees it. I don't know if that answers the question, but if there's any action to be taken, it would have to be brought back to the board.
I would propose the amendment that it can go back to the Electoral Services Committee for amendment before it comes back to the board here, because it's our motion to create the report. That's my proposed amendment.
Director Morwini?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'm fine with it coming back here. Really, the rationale for requesting this report is because there have been several recent legislative changes which are affecting land use planning. For example, there are questions around the timing of public notification and until which reading the public input may be received by directors, and a report clarifying this would be helpful for directors who are involved in land use planning here at the regional district. That was the original intention, and I'm fine to have it come back here as well.
Right, thank you. Director Chapman?
Chair, I'll second Director Sennett's amendment.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. As the motion is amended. The first, do we have a second? No.
It's already on the floor, so
Where
you
did
just
it-
call the question.
Just call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 10, 2023-2027 Board Strategic Plan Finalization.
Chair, I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Thank you. Director Ray, second. I do. Renee. Renee is here to speak to this.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, directors. The 2023-2027 Board Strategic Plan final version. We took the comments and revisions that we had at the last COW meeting, incorporated them into the plan that's before you today, along with the Chair's message. And if there's no other further changes, I think we can call it final.
Okay, we'll start with Director Chapman, then Director Von Esch.
Oh, sorry.
We're done with Director Chapman. We'll move on to Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. Just the first time we're seeing the message from the chair here. Really appreciate your letter, Director Baker. And just wanting to make one friendly amendment that I think brings the letter more in line with the strategic priorities outlined in the plan. And that is in the third paragraph there. Our focus includes identifying and putting into action transportation strategies. So I'd like to make a motion to switch putting into action with considering, which lines up with the strategy that's outlined in the plan.
We're still on receipt.
Just letting know, folks, that I'm going to do that.
Okay, right after. So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Go ahead, Dr. Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. So just to be clear for folks, in the area of transportation, we said that in the report that identify and consider transportation initiatives that safely move goods and services between our communities and beyond. And then just seeing the letter for the first time, the letter's quite kind of a different action item here. We're saying identifying and putting into action transportation studies. So my motion is to change putting into action to changing it to consider.
Director Wally, second. Director Chapman.
Chair, I'm not clear, Director Von Esch. I mean, if we're just going to consider, that's all we're going to do is consider. We're not going to action anything. We're just consider things, right?
I think it's considered to take action
Yeah, but not to take action, just to consider.
Well, consider is either we are going to consider to take action or not. But I think the strategic plan says, that's what we're going to do. We're going to that we are going to consider taking action. And the letter that we're seeing for the first time is saying and putting into action. So I think it's just more in alignment with the strategic priorities that we all agreed on.
Well,
Hang on, we just have one more. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just to clarify a bit, our strategic priority.
Microphone, please.
Just to clarify, our strategic priority states identify and consider transportation initiatives that safely move people, goods and services between our communities and beyond. That's our strategic priority. The chair's introduction changes that to put into action. The board has never approved putting into action a transportation strategy yet. Perhaps we will. So to have consistent wording with our strategic priority, which says consider, what this motion would do would just change that to consider. I think that's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. I was asked to call the question. All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? One opposed. Motion is carried.
Sorry, I didn't get through my opposed.
Director Lanyon.
Thank you.
Okay, I should oppose it just because it's under my name, but now I'll move on. That's okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the 2023-2027 strategic plan for the regional district be approved.
Thank you. Director Mawhinney, second. As amendment? As amended?
Yes, as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Director Lott actually was the second on that. Discussion? All in favor? No, Director Wally. Okay, call the question. None opposed. Director Wally and Director Chapman are opposed. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. Motion is carried. Number 11, Port Neville Wharf.
I will move the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Thank you, Director Wally. Second, discussion. Director Mawhinney, on receipt.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I'm really happy to receive this report and learn that the Claweetzies First Nation is interested in taking ownership of the Port Neville Wharf and that they already own land upland from the wharf. I think that's really a great fit. And as the report states, that the nation has cited the cultural significance and ecological richness of the area. I have a question to staff, and it's just how the timing of all the pieces involved here work, because there's talking about a binding agreement and a letter of agreement and a completion of the work and community input and a bylaw. I'm wondering what order they go in and if any of them will be occurring simultaneously.
Yes, thank you, through to the chair. We still need to sort out what the process is going to look like after this. With the Claweetsis acceptance of the letter of understanding, we'll move forward with drafting the binding agreement. It'll probably take some time to create and then negotiate. At the same time, I expect we'll start drafting the bylaw. And perhaps the corporate officer could correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine both may come back at the same time. We will not likely begin the repairs until all of those pieces have been settled.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Anybody else? Okay, that was on receipt. Call the question. All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B.
I'll move that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to execute the letter of understanding on behalf of the regional district.
Do I have a second? Director Von Esch.
And I'm declaring a conflict for business reasons.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Can we ask, oh, wait, C, sorry. Go ahead, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. And after C, I have a subsequent. So I will move that a bylaw be prepared for the board's consideration, which would authorize divestment of the Port Neville Wharf facility to the Claweetzies First Nation.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And subsequent, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that Strathcona Regional District staff apply to Transport Canada for an extension of 2 or more years in the matter of the funding agreement deadline regarding the Port Neville, Owen Bay, and Surge Narrows Wharf facilities.
Do I have a second? Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Number 12. Director Sinnott, you should come back in. Okay, number 12, Jescona Gardens, recreate construction schedule.
I'll make a motion that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I'll make a motion that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to amend the existing contract with HCMA Architecture and Design to include contract administration for the construction of Recreate Phase 1, should the project proceed into the construction phase, and that Heather Bray Builder Ltd's pricing for construction management and general requirements to be approved, should the project proceed into the construction phase.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. 13,
Move that the report from the CAO be received.
thank you. Director Wally, discussion? Director Wally.
Yeah, a couple questions, one for Mr. Yates. I see question for Mr. Yates. Under 19A of that report, electronic participation by members, I see that says deleted. Did we at one time have something there that authorized electronic participation?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we're proposing that that be deleted. Is that a question?
It says deleted in the,
It says deleted in the bylaw.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, you're yeah, there have been, when we see those terms in the consolidated bylaw, that refers to a section that has been deleted. I've not researched what that said before it was deleted, but it was by board initiative that it would be
All right,
deleted.
well, what I was thinking is, should there not be some clause in there somewhere that authorizes electronic participation? Because I see there's other things in there that speak to electronic participation, and we do it. There's nothing in there that really authorizes it.
We could certainly have a look at that.
Okay, that would be 19A anyway, so.
That may be true, but we didn't approach this particular report with that objective in mind. It was really to look at those sections that would be considered unsupportable in a court of law, and that's what we focused on for this particular report.
All right, and I have one more point, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In that section that's been crossed out about the chair stepping down and letting the vice chair take over to debate the issue, it seems to me that we put that in place years ago because there are things that the chair would like to debate, I'm sure. There may be issues that are directly applicable to his community. And the previous clause says that the chair cannot debate the issue from the chair, so I wonder if it might be appropriate to ask for a legal opinion. I know that you're saying that the province wants the chair to preside if present, but that potentially could be open to interpretation.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I don't know that that particular clause would be open to much interpretation. What may be open to interpretation is to what extent the chair could participate in discussion or debate at the board itself. And that, because that is controlled essentially by the board's own procedure bylaw rather than by provincial statute.
Right. It was the word preside that I thought might be open to interpretation.
I don't think you'll get very far with that one.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we determined I'm allowed to speak. Okay, we're on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move option B, that a bylaw be prepared that would replace the current meeting procedures bylaw while addressing the issues identified in the February 1, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor?
Julia's hand.
Sorry, is that? Julie Corburn, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Just making sure you could hear me there. I know that for municipal procedure bylaws, we're only allowed to reconsider them every so often, and you can't make other changes within a 6-month period or something like that. I'm wondering what the legal rules are around the SRD's board procedure bylaw, because if we're talking about making other changes as Director Wally proposed, then should that be done at the same time? Just a question through to staff.
Mr. Yates?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there is no similar restriction for regional districts. We are required to advise directors of proposed changes to the procedure bylaw, but that can be done as many times as the board wishes to look at it. So we don't have that kind of restriction where it's once a year or twice a year or anything like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Learn something new every day, and I appreciate it.
Call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 14, Cortez Island Waste Collection Contract Extension.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move that the contract for the Cortez Island Refuse Collection Service with VEM Contracting be extended for an additional 2-year term, and that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute the contract amendment on behalf of the Regional District.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 15, Saybird Valley Waste Collection Contract Extension.
Move receipt of the CEO's report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that the contract amendment be prepared for the board's review, which would extend the Saybird Valley Refuse Collection Service with Waste Management Canada Corporation for an additional 2-year term.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 16, Cortez Island Community Hall.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Second was, that was funny, I was almost going to call you doctor. Director Mawhinney as a second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
I'd like to move that that amendments to bylaw number 341 be prepared for further consideration that would permit capital funding for community halls on Cortez Island from sources other than requisition of property taxes.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Opposed, motion is carried. 17, Appeal of Zoning Bylaw 1155 to 2254, Electoral Area A.
Move receipt of the CEO's report.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that the bylaws be prepared for the board's consideration that would repeal bylaw 1155, Electoral Area G, zoning bylaw 1990, and bylaw 2256, Fair Harbor zoning bylaw 2000.
Second.
Second was Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 18, Wood Chipping Program, Budget Limitations. Thank you, Director Wally.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that the limitations be implemented to ensure that the wood chipping program can be offered in a way that ensures program costs remain within the financial limits of approved grants.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Fire Smart Program Grant Opportunity.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Wally, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
I'd like to move that an application be submitted to the Community Resiliency Investment Grant Program for Fire Smart activities in 2025 and 26 for electoral areas, and that the regional district commit to overall grant management if the application is successful.
Second.
Can't do that. You're close, though. We have a second by Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 20, short-term rental accommodations.
Move receipt of the report from the CAO.
Second.
Thank you, Director Bonish. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And B,
I'd like to, which is a slight amendment here to what's written, I'd like to move that electoral area B of the Strathcona Regional District opt into the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act, STRAA, principal residence requirement.
Second.
Director Wally, second. Discussion?
I have a
Director
second
Mulwini
subsequent.
first? You have a subsequent? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank
Director
you.
Lanyon.
I'm just curious if area directors have had any discussion with tourism operators in your area about the impacts of this? Like, on what basis is this decision being made?
Good. If I may, Chair. Thank you, Director Lanyon. So this was based on a really comprehensive survey that was done in Cortez. We had 265 people respond. It was a 3-to-1 ratio in favor of opting into this. There is I think as far as tourism goes, it's basically every business on Cortez struggles to run at capacity because of lack of housing for employees. So it's not going to make a huge difference to the number of new rentals that are available, but it will make some difference. And then there sort of is the sentiment on Cortez that, if you live in Victoria and you decide to buy a piece of land on Cortez and you don't want to live in it and you want to keep it empty, you either need to rent it out or, use it for family members and that it can't just be used as a business.
Well, I'm not opting in at this moment. No, I'm going to act in.
I had a question.
Director Rice?
Just one question. When you reached out and had the engagement, did you include the people that have the vacant short-term rentals? Because a lot of them probably don't live on Cortez.
Yeah, it was an extensive survey. As far as I know, it's the most comprehensive survey that's been done on Cortez around housing. We had almost 25% of the population respond to the survey, which I think is pretty unusual in most populations. And the survey came back, 66% of the respondents were landowners, and 33% were renters. So there's really, this isn't just coming from renters or a certain specific group. And my assessment and what the survey seems to show is that, there is strong support for this across Cortez.
No. Okay. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mulwini has a subsequent.
True story. May I, Chair?
Please.
Okay, thank you. I would like to move that the short-term rental accommodations report be referred to the March 13th Electoral Area Services Committee, and that staff arrange for a representative from the Ministry of Housing who is familiar with the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act attend at the meeting for an opportunity to seek clarity on some of the details.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Von Esch? Lanyon? I apologize. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. 21, Natural Resource Committee.
Move receipt of the report of the CAO.
On receipt, do I have a second?
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And B,
Somebody be appointed.
yes, we're going to appoint 2 people. The chair is going to be one, and we need a second.
May I make a nomination, Chair?
Please.
I would like to nominate Martin Davis to the Natural Resources Committee.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, would you like to ask Mr. Davis if he...
Mr. Davis, are you interested in the position?
Yeah, I'd accept that nomination with thanks.
Okay, so all in favor of Director Davis? Opposed? Okay, majority has it. Okay, do they have to make a motion on the chair?
No, that's automatic.
That's automatic. Okay. Thank you. And number 22.
I'll move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received regarding the government services agreement with the Moachat Muchalat First Nation.
Discussion.
I have a
Director
question.
Mawhinney.
Thank you. I noticed that on page 5 of the attachment, Article 8, Insurance, in 8.1, it mentions the regional district being added as an additional insured in the case of the village. And I'm not sure what the village is referencing, because it's the only time I saw it in the agreement.
Mr. Yates.
I think Ms. Starkey can speak to this. It's, this is a services agreement specifically with a First Nation, singular, and I believe there have been discussions and there's background to that, but I'm not personally aware of what that might be, so.
Mr. Yates, I have also not been involved in this process. This is for, typically bylaw services agreements would apply to the jurisdiction that it's in, that it would be referencing. The village in this context would be defined within the agreement. So if it is not, then.
So perhaps if Director Mawhinney could repeat her question. I believe it was Director Mawhinney had a question.
I just noticed that there was one mention of the word village as an additional, and the regional district being added as an additional insured in the case of the village. And I wasn't clear on what that was referencing. I didn't see it defined anywhere else.
Mr. Chairman, I think that would be just part of the standard template, and obviously an oversight that needs to refer to the other party rather than a village. So it'd be, in this case, I believe, subject to correction, that would be referencing the government would maintain a policy of liability to protect the regional district.
Okay, still in receipt? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'll make the motion that the Chair of Corporate Office be authorized to execute the government services agreement with the Mochalat First Nation as attached to the February 22nd, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer with the amendment to correct the word village to government.
Second.
Director Chapman was second. Discussion? Is that a discussion, Director Mawhinney? No? Sorry? All in favor?
I have a question.
I hear a voice. Sorry, Director Colburn.
Thank you. Is it possible to check with the parties involved rather than us making an assumption that that's how the parties want to be referred to? I'm just wondering about process, if that can be made in the motion, that it is what the parties prefer to be called. Is it government? Is it nation? Is it village? What their say is in that they're, the other party that's signing the agreement as well.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I believe that has all been discussed with the First Nation before this was finalized for consumption by the board.
I'm sorry.
I believe in the contract they're referred to as the government. That's the definition of the nation is government in this contract.
Thank you. So we'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. 23. Financial assistance request, electoral area D. On receipt.
Move receipt.
Director Wally, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's carried. And B.
That the board approve grants in aid to be paid from Aerial D grant and aid budget as follows. Item number 1, $2,000 to Ocean Grove Parent Advisory Council to assist with costs associated with educational field trips, purchasing of sport equipment and art supplies, and various small initiatives to enhance child play. Item number 2, and $2,000 to the Campbell River Citizens on Patrol to assist with 2024 operating costs. And item number 3, $2,750 to the Campbell River Museum to assist with costs associated with the 2024 program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and I just want to thank the director from Area D for their contribution to Campbell River Citizens on Patrol and Campbell River Museum. It's much appreciated from the city of Campbell River.
Thank you.
Wait, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Bylaws. Bylaw number 517, electoral area D, rezoning. RZ 111D 23.
I'll make a motion that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
That was Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that bylaw 517 be given third reading.
Second.
I'll make the motion.
third.
I'll move it.
Move recommendation.
I'll second.
I think it's just electoral areas on this one.
Oh, this is electoral,
Yeah,
sorry.
so I'll second that one.
Director Bonish?
Mr. Chairman, any director may second any motion, just so we're clear.
And Director Sinnott has it.
Director Senate, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 2. Oh, sorry, I lied. Let's go to C. Go ahead, Director Rice.
Move recommendation that bylaw 517 being Campbell River Area Zoning Bylaw 1991 Amendment Number 68 be reconsidered and finally passed and adopted.
It was Director Wally. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Bylaw 518, electoral area rezoning, RZ 1D22. Director
Second.
Wally, Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, electoral areas only.
That bylaw number 518 be given third reading.
Second.
Director Bonesh, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Recommendation C, that bylaw number 518 being Campbell River Area Zoning Bylaw 1991, Amendment Number 69, be reconsidered and finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Bonesh, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 3, bylaw 522, Cortez Island Dog Control Service.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, this is all directors. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I'd like to move that the total number of electors within the area affected by bylaw number 522 be fairly determined to be 961 for purposes of the alternative approval process.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. And C,
I'd like to move that the deadline for submission of electoral responses in respect of the alternative approval process for bylaw number 522 be established as 12 noon on Monday, April 15th, 2024.
Second.
Director Morweni, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D,
I'd like to move that the electoral response form attached to the February 16th, 2024 report from the Chief Administrative Officer be approved for use with the alternative approval process for bylaw number 522.
Second.
Director Morweni, discussion.
Just a couple of words for Cortez Islanders and folks listening online. This has been a bit of a process to get to this point where we're moving into the alternative approval process. But just for review for folks, that there was a number of incidents on Cortez that prompted a petition to create a dog control service, and this. Potential new service is in response to that. My thoughts were, because this is a divisive issue on Cortez, is that we're going to go back to the community for further for consultation on the service through this alternative approval process, which, as some folks may be familiar with, means that if 10% of this 961 people write in against it, the service would be killed for at least a year. So this is a way to sort of weigh in the community and allow them to decide.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 4, bylaw 528.
I'd like to move that a report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Morweni, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
I'd like to move that the report on the public hearings for bylaw number 528 and all related records be received.
Second.
Director Morweni, discussion?
Yes.
Director Morweni?
Thank you, Chair. I noticed in the public hearing record that the first 4 written submissions included in this report were pertaining to bylaw 529 in Area D. And I'm not sure if that relates to the receiving of the report or not, but I needed to point it out.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C, that bylaw 528 be given third reading.
Second. I'd like to move that the bylaw number 528 be given third reading.
Second.
You can second the next one. Director Vonish, Director Morweni, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. D,
I'd like to move that bylaw number 528 being electoral area B, not I, Cortez Island zoning bylaw 2002, amendment number 33 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
do you have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, that was close. Director Rice, discussion.
Yeah, just a couple of words that, this is my first public hearing and rezoning process, and really appreciate staff's support in coming to Cortez. We had a really strong turnout, probably 30 people, which is, I think, is pretty good for our size of island. And although it wasn't entirely unanimous on what should be decided here, the strength of the argument has me in considering supporting of this subdivision. It's in the heart of one of the 3 communities on Cortez. It's within the OCP, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Electoral areas only. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Number 5.
Second.
Director Vernez, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
And move that bylaw 532 being 2024 to 2028 financial plan capital expenditure program be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Vonesh, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that any written submissions from the public in respect to bylaw number 532 be received by the board at this time.
Second.
That was Director Von Esch. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Is there any
Mr.
member of the
Chairman,
public wishing to?
Oh, wait, hang on a second.
I will confirm that the only written correspondence we've received or feedback from the public has been attached to the agenda, and you're seeing that on the agenda already. We've received no other written correspondence in respect of the financial plan bylaw.
Okay, so go ahead.
Move that any members of the public wishing to address the board regarding bylaw number 532 be permitted to do so.
Second.
Director Von Esch, do we have any members of the public? I have to pass the motion? Okay, we'll pass the motion first. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, which is carried. There is no members of the public. D,
Move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 532 be given second and third readings.
was E, sorry.
Second.
Second, Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I had moved that bylaw number 532 being 2024 to 2028 financial plan and capital expenditure program bylaw be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Director Rice is opposed. The motion is passed. Number 6.
I'll move
receipt.
that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Thank you. Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I will move that bylaw number 537, being a bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to Quadra Island, be now introduced and read for a first time.
discussion? Electoral areas, thank you. Electoral areas only. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C,
I would like to move second reading of bylaw number 537, and that bylaw 537 be brought back for consideration of third reading at the next board meeting, and that the deadline for input be extended to as late as reasonable to allow community input.
Director Wally, second, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, so that was up to D, correct?
Yeah. So no,
Number 7, bylaw number 538 and 539. Electoral Area D, OCP and rezoning, CPD 124, RZD 124.
Move receipt from the CEO.
Thank you.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
Move recommendation that the First Nations consultation process and agency referral list as outlined in the staff report dated February 14th, 2024 for the application CP 1D24RZ 1D24 Larman be approved.
that
Second.
was Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Electoral areas only. Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 8. Director Rice, you have your mic on?
Yep. Getting ready.
Are you getting ready? You can go ahead if you want.
Number 8, bylaw number 540, Electoral Area D, rezoning Watkins, that the report from the CEO be received.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
Move recommendation B, that the bylaw number 540 be in bylaw to amend the zoning regulations applicable to Area D zone now be introduced and read for the first time.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Electoral areas only, thank you. Motion is carried.
Move item C, that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 540 be give second and third reading.
Director Wally, discussion? Electoral areas only. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D,
Move recommendation that bylaw number 540 be in Campbell River area zoning bylaw number 1991, amendment number 71 be reconsidered and finally passed and adopted.
motion, please.
Second.
Thank you. Director Bonesh, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Bylaw 541, Saybird Valley Fish and Game Association hatchery funding.
Move receipt of the CAO's report.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move that bylaw 541 being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement respecting the use of community works funds for the Saybird Fish and Game hatchery property be now introduced and read a first time.
Director Moini, discussion? Your microphone is still on, Director Lott, I think. There we go, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 541 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Finally, I'd move that bylaw number 541 be returned for consideration of adoption following receipt of written consent from the electoral area director.
Second.
Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 10, bylaw number 543, Black Creek Oyster Bay Water System funding.
Move that the receipt from the CEO, the report from the CEO be received.
Director Wally, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
Move recommendation that bylaw number 543 being authorized, entered into agreement respecting the use of community works funds for the Black Creek Oyster Bay water system be now introduced and read for the first time.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. C,
Move recommendation C that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 543 be given second and third reading.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D,
Move recommendation D.
your microphone, please.
Sorry, move recommendation D that bylaw number 543 be returned for consideration of adoption following receipt of the written consent from the director for electoral area D.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Yeah. Okay, folks, we're going to take roughly a 13-minute break. Everybody reconvene at 2:15, please. Thank you. Talk amongst yourselves. It wasn't me that whistled. I don't whistle, especially when I have a breath mint. Okay, welcome back. We still have everybody. We got everybody online? Okay. Correspondence. 1 through 9. So moved by Mr. Wally.
I'd like to move item 7 and item 8. Nowhere,
Okay, so pull number 7 and pull number 8. So then can we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9 be received, please?
Second.
Thank you. Second was Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Move to number 7 then, please.
This number 7 is actually got an S to it, and I believe that Director Dahl's got a motion ready to go on it.
I'm sorry, you just woke Director Dahl.
We just woke him up. I said yours was better.
Yes, please. First we'll receive.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, go ahead.
Yep.
We did. Thank you.
Move that a regional grant in the amount of $15,000 be provided to the Canada Day Celebration Group to support Canada Day events.
Second.
Second.
His was better than yours?
Yeah, mine was. Mine was really short.
Okay,
Our standards are low.
there we go. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so Director Wally.
Yeah, I just have a question for Campbell River directors. Are you guys also contributing to this, to the Campbell River?
Director Dahl?
So last year, the SRD put in 15,000 and the city of Campbell River put in 20. And Quality Foods this year was bought out by Jimmy Pattison and isn't contributing. So the city has increased our grant to them to $33,500 to help offset the loss of Quality Foods. And the organizing committee is not asking for anything additional from the SRD more than what they did last year.
Thank you.
And if I might just ask one more thing, so the 33 and 15, that's about 48,000. Is this all going up in smoke, or is they got other uses for it?
Yeah.
No, some of it's going in a toilet. Well, he asked. It's $3,500 of what we donated is for porta potties.
No, that's an important item. It's an important item. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 8, please.
Move receipt on number 8.
Director Wally, second. Discussion. Director Rice.
I just wanted to say that I was happy to see this report, considering that there was a report not too long ago that said that Strathcona Regional District wasn't eligible for this, so it does look like this will be available for people in my community that were quite interested when they found out about it. So happy to see that the second correspondent came out.
Okay, motion to receive. Director Kerr.
Second.
Director Pranesh, discussion? All in favor of receipt? There we go. Thank you. Now, Director Rice.
This is a report that I had to do for stormwater management, and it's basically lack of stormwater management that we have in Area D. We have a fair amount of properties that have been flooding, so we have subdivisions over in Marywood that have been flooding quite regularly. This looks like a failure for Modi for many, many years. We have properties that are on the Island Highway right in the Oyster Bay area, across from the rest stop, that are also flooding, and they don't know what to do. We don't know what the plan is. So what I'm looking for is that I have a motion there, and I would, after we receive receipt on this, I've got a motion that I would like directors to support. Thank you.
Okay, first we'll go to receipt. All in favor of receipt? We don't have a mover and seconder yet? Oh, sorry. Let's go to a mover and a seconder. Stormwater Management Report.
Move receipt.
Second.
Director Vornesh, Director Rice. We had discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, Director Rice. Director Mawhinney.
I have a question. Are we discussing the motion still on that report, or are we moving on to another? Oh, yeah, we are. Great.
It's always great when I don't even have to answer the question. Perfect.
So I would like staff to prepare a report for discussion at the East table on how best to tackle stormwater management. The report should include how best to include other stakeholders, such as the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Most important to the discussion is what is available for property owners and how can they protect their properties from this growing problem.
Is that your motion?
Yep.
Do I have a second? Director Mawhinney?
I'll second it, and I have a.
Okay, discussion.
Thank you, MA Chair.
Go ahead.
I was interested in this, and I thought that it would maybe be helpful if the report also included options for education on building resilience into properties with relevant infrastructure like rain gardens.
You're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have an amendment.
The only reason I didn't include that is that this is to address an existing problem, and it's been a problem that has been ignored in the community for quite a few years. So I think that the problem actually has to go back to the provincial government, because I believe that that is where the responsibility lies, but I'm hoping to identify that in this report. Thanks.
Director Chapman?
Chair, thanks. Director Rice just brought up what I was going to say is in the rural areas, subdivision control is by Ministry of Transportation and Highways. So if they have missed something, then they should be financially contributing to the solution.
Thank you. So all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, number 2, Agricultural Land Reserve.
Move receipt.
Move receipt, Director Rice, Director Wally. A second, discussion. Director Rice.
So thanks to one of my constituents, I had the pleasure of spending a few hours with Harold Steves. Again, if anybody did a search on his name on the internet, you'll find out that he was the individual that was responsible for putting together the Agricultural Land Reserve. He's been an MLA, and he was also a councillor for over 50 years with the city of Richmond. What I found quite interesting with Harold is that he lives on the farm that his father bought in 1866, and they still farm. He has gone through quite an evolution of farming because of the location in Steveson. You know, he's had the city of Richmond claw back as to what he can do agriculturally. So he had to get rid of his dairy cows at one point. So quite a knowledgeable individual, loves to share his information. He would be quite willing to do a Zoom meeting for a board meeting of our choice. And I think it would be very valuable for all of the directors to be able to ask Harold questions, and more importantly, if staff were to give him some input, he could actually modify what he's going to talk about. Wealth of knowledge, and I think it would be well worth it. So I'm hoping that directors will support my motion that I have on this.
Okay, still on receipt. Go ahead, Director Wally.
Yeah, just a question for Director Rice. Is he currently on the ALR board?
No, he's retired.
Okay, still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
The motion,
Receipt. It's carried. Now we can go to Director Rice again.
if supported by the board, I would like to invite Harold to do a presentation at a committee of the whole meeting at a date to be determined.
Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Director Lott, discussion. Director Chapman.
I think it'd be worthwhile hearing from him, Chair, but as long as we have some focus on what's to be discussed. I wouldn't want to see a 2-hour discussion based on a whole gambit of things. I think we should try and narrow it down.
Yeah, he's certainly not opposed to us giving him an agenda, and then he would focus on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Director Wally?
Yeah, my only concern is that him not being currently on the board, he doesn't have any way to influence the board's decisions on anything. And I think it might be more appropriate to have a board member do it. And I'm sure this gentleman could give us a very detailed background of it, but that's probably not the main focus that we would have. We've had the LR board come and make presentations here several times. And they're usually fairly brief. They give us a map of what areas in BC are left, and I think that might be more profitable. That's my personal feeling on it.
Okay, so on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, number 3, small house. Director Rice?
I was just informed that this item should be discussed in camera, so.
Okay, so your motion is to move this to in camera?
That's correct.
Second.
Director Chapman, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 4.
I'd like to move receipt on the February 5th report from myself regarding the proposed Finch Road extension be received.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? Director Dahl?
Director Rice might be the only person here that gets more emails about this than I do, and I'm not sure that he does. But I think it's pretty simple, and I don't understand why it's been made to be so complicated. I've lobbied the owner of the property, and I'm trying to get them just to make a statement that there will be no connectivity to Area D. A lot of the emails that I get are from people that clearly don't understand what the urban containment boundary is or what this development is. And I sat through one meeting at the Strathcona Gardens, or no, at the Sportsplex, I think last May, and listened to people. And it was interesting to listen to them complain that it already takes them 15 to 20 minutes to get off of Crawford Road out onto the highway because the traffic in the summer is so heavy. The new subdivision will have a controlled intersection on Jubilee with a light. So why anybody would want to drive down Finch Road or Crawford Road to get over there so they can line up for a 15-minute wait is beyond me, when they will be able to exit their new subdivision at a light that's controlled. Makes zero sense. If anything, people from Area D would want to go through the new subdivision to get to a controlled intersection so that they could get on their way much quicker. So I have talked to our development department and said, simply make it a restriction, a covenant, that there is no connection to Area D other than for emergency services like fire. I think that pretty much solves the issue of the 100+ people that think that having progress is a bad thing.
Director Rice.
I just wanted to add to that, and thank you for the comments. I've had very successful meetings with Dan Sampson, so I don't see this as a problem. It's interesting that, the folks have gone out and signed this petition. There's 106 signatures on it. I think my motivation for bringing it here, and they wanted me to bring it here, is to also draw awareness that Area D is getting ready to do a traffic study with Modi. They're working with the engineering staff here. And I think it's important, that when we get going with this traffic study, which should be going in a few months, that all of the relevant information with, new potential subdivision at Saratoga Speedway, new subdivision over on Jubilee, that all of these factors are being weighed in when Modi is taking a look at 19A. So that's my motivation, and I fully understand that, I don't see this as being a potential problem. The developer certainly doesn't want to make it one, but I'm doing what my constituents asked me to do. Thank you.
Okay, still on receipt? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 5, Cortez Island Housing Report.
Thank you, Chair. Should I make my comments now or wait till we've received?
Move receipt.
Yeah, move receipt.
Thank you, Director Mawhinney. Second?
Second.
Director Bonish, discussion?
Thank you, Chair. The What We Heard Housing Report is a result of working with the Cortez Housing Society to facilitate a housing forum in December that brought 125 people together online and in person to discuss the challenges and the potential solutions for addressing our housing issues on Cortez Island. It also combines the results of a comprehensive survey that 265 people filled out, providing direction for me as the regional director and the Cortez Housing Society to take action on. The full report is attached to this agenda, but I wanted to share a few highlights. 66% of the respondents to the survey were homeowners and 33% were renters. This is in line with the last federal census statistics, and encouragingly, both renters and homeowners are looking for progress. It's not just housing insecure people that want change. One of the most interesting stats that came out of the findings is that 40% of the 173 property owners have space for a tiny home on their land, and 20% have a cabin or a house that they would be willing to rent out if an intermediary agency provided support. The cheapest and fastest housing access is the housing that we already have built. Most businesses struggle to run at capacity. A coordinated effort to work with larger employees and create worker housing is important for our economy. There is strong support for opting into the latest BC government legislation for regulating short-term rentals to landowners' primary property. 1/3 of the homes on Cortez Island are empty, and 68% of respondents support a vacancy tax, with the funds raised being used for local affordable housing development. There's strong support for alternative development models, including cooperatives and land trusts. Many homeowners are living without basic amenities, and there is a need for affordable financing to improve living situations and create more rentals, which was kind of an interesting thing for me, is like all the landowners that respond, so many of them are living, without hot water or indoor plumbing or indoor toilets, and that not only is it not great for those people living there, but if they could acquire some financing to do some renovations, that would actually open up some more rental housing on Cortez as well. 87% of the 87 renters that filled out the survey would like to purchase their own home or land if they could afford it. We need to create opportunities for affordable home ownership. The timing of this is really great because Cortez is going through a zoning bylaw review process with the SRD, and I hope that this report will support that process. There's strong support for zoning bylaws to be updated that create opportunities for housing local people in new ways. 72% of respondents support increased density, but it was clear that development needs to be done in an environmentally conscious way, protecting ecosystems, watersheds, and aquifer capacity. I look forward to making progress in the coming months and years on this key issue, and I'm grateful for the leadership that SRD staff and my fellow directors are taking on addressing housing in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Last but not least, external agency meetings.
Move receipt.
Director Morwini. Director Wally. Discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I recognize that this is landing at the end of or close to the end of a long agenda, so I will make my comments brief. Hopefully you had a chance to read my report and note that one of the events that I attended in the last month was an Island Health climate gathering where attendees heard from members of various groups, including the Vancouver Island Climate Leadership Committee. And since then, I've done a little bit more learning about that group, and I've learned that the SRD is the only regional district in the AVICC region who has not responded or supported this initiative. At our December 13th board meeting, we received a staff report following up on correspondence from the Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Committee, asking for a modest financial support from our board in the amount of $8,400. I've learned that they meet quarterly, they provide a venue to share information and work on integration of local and smaller climate action plans, sharing best practices, collaborating on problem solving, and advocating to other orders of government. And they're currently organizing a virtual climate summit of 2 mornings a week apart, intended to fit into the busy lives of elected officials and district staff. As well as providing a forum for elected leaders to connect, they also provide a venue for staff from regional districts across the region to connect and discuss climate projects, share ideas, etc. Climate resilience is one of the priorities we've chosen to focus on in our strategic priorities. I believe that supporting this coastal communities initiative shows we want to work on climate as a strategic priority and shows our island neighbors we want to listen and work together with them. So after anyone has any further questions about my report, I have a short motion about that.
Director Wally.
Yeah, just a question for staff. How much have we got left in our regional grant and aid budget? After what we've committed today? I'd have to check it on that.
Sorry, I don't have that handy.
Lots. Okay. Any further discussion? On receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead, Director Morwini.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the SRD Board support the request of the Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Steering Committee in the amount of $8,400 from regional grant and aid funds, and that at our next board meeting, we consider appointing a member of the board to that committee.
Second, Davis.
Thank you. Discussion? Director Sinnott.
Yes, thank you. Can I just get a little bit more idea what the outcomes of the Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Plan is? Like, what are they trying to achieve relative to local governments and regional governments? Are they trying to get us to do more sort of water conservation like on your outer islands? Or are they trying to like explain how the health connection and particularly this water one or any other leadership via the health group is? So we know what we're trying to fund, and we know if it's consistent also with some of our other objectives.
Okay, well, I think that maybe I didn't make it clear, sorry. The event that I was at was sponsored by Island Health. Well, it was put on by Island Health and the Snuneymuxw First Nation, and it was in Nanaimo. And there were presentations from various groups, and we had breakout sessions and brainstormed various things. But one of the sessions that was presented was from the Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership group, which is, we did receive their correspondence on our December agenda. So I think they're slightly different. So knowing that, could you maybe rephrase what you still are looking for information on?
Yeah, because that was a bit of a concern to me. Are we funding a government organization, but we're funding another organization? Their outcome that we're trying to fund to assist is what? Like, what is the actual outcomes they're trying to achieve so we know what we're supporting?
Okay, well, my understanding is that the outcomes, it's all of the regional districts of in the catchment area of the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities. So it's the Sunshine Coast as well as Vancouver Island regional districts. And My understanding is that they are working to, I think originally when they started, which was in 2019, their idea was maybe to try and find some overarching plans that would benefit everyone, and they realized that it's much more beneficial to regional districts to have a forum for connecting ideas on what's happening regarding climate resilience, climate crisis, anything to do with working on climate projects within our regional districts and sharing what is being worked on and how we can learn from other regional districts what their work is. And that's why they also connect staff that are working in the same fields. They meet I believe they meet 4 times a year. And then there's also going to be this summit where there's going to be 2 half-day meetings for elected officials and staff to all sort of connect and discuss climate projects.
Do we have staff who have comments on whether this is duplicative of their work already, or is this a useful thing for the SRD? Or should we send it for a report? I'm just sort of.
There is a staff report about it in December 2015, or 2023.
Your microphone, please.
There was a staff report from 2023, December, but I could, if it's something that you'd like more information about, I don't mind sending it out and attaching it to another agenda if that's something that you feel you need.
Why don't we ask for staff to bring back a report?
Well, we already did that once.
Well, there's some questions that could be asked or could be cleared up during a report to the staff. Go ahead, Director Dahl.
I won't support this motion without information from staff, or at least a date and time that we can watch what was said at the previous meeting. If we didn't support it the first time it was asked for, I don't know why we may want to support it a second time. So we should at least be given enough time to go back and review the previous meeting where it was brought up, or have staff bring something back at a later meeting. But I'm not going to support it if we've already voted on it once and we voted no, and now we're going to vote a second time with no information. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay, Director Davis, Director Chapman, and then Director Kerr, and then Director Mulwiney. Director Davis?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Can you hear me? I'm just having some weird internet issues.
No, we got you.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, the regional district, in our last term, I actually brought this proposal forward that we have somebody as representative on this committee. And I was doing that for a while, and it is an interesting forum. They work with University of Victoria and some other educational institutions to gather information regarding climate-related issues and potential actions. And the Village of Tassos is still part of it. Anyway, Strathcona Regional District did fund my expenses at one point for that. And then it was not renewed. So we have been part of it before, and we could easily be part of it again. The Village of Tassos has gone forward with it, and we still send a representative to these meetings. But it would be good for the regional district to be on board. I think there is value in it. But again, it makes sense that we get more information so that everybody understands the implications and the potential benefits of it.
Director Chapman.
Chair Baker, my apologies. I was just trying to signal to you that Director Coburn had a question online.
Okay, then we'll go to Director Kier, then Director Colburn. Director Kier.
Kier?
Why am I calling you Kier?
Kier?
Sorry, I've got a CAO named
How
Kier.
about Care?
Kier. Should I roll
I want you to
the R's?
roll the R's.
I'll roll the R's for you.
Thank you, Chair.
My pleasure.
For your sarcasm. I agree with Director Dahl that if we've already dealt with this, we've already had a report, we already had a vote, there's no point going back there. In fact, I think there's probably a policy that we don't return to a subject unless the chair says so. Certainly, we'd have that in council. That if something's been voted on, it's voted on. So I certainly wouldn't, I don't want staff to go back and get another report on it. And if we're going to have a vote, let's have a vote right now on the motion.
Okay. Director Colburn, and then you. Director Colburn?
So my comment here is it's interesting, with all of these reports, when we, not just this one in particular, if we could see motions beforehand, I think that would be helpful, as I feel right now we're kind of working on the fly and we didn't see the last meeting about that. This is this is a motion that's coming out of an item that was embedded in a different report. So I just think process-wise for the future, it might be helpful if people were putting the motions that they were going to make forward concerning their reports in ahead of time so that we're not seeing them the day of. Just a suggestion, and that's more of a general kind of thing and not specific to this topic.
Okay, thank you. Director Mulwiney.
Thank you, Chair. Just to the comments about as the board having previously voted on this, I don't believe that is the case. I believe that it originally came as correspondence in October, and at that point, we asked for further information. It came as correspondence. We asked for further information. Staff prepared a report, which came in December, and it was merely voted on for receipt. There was no conversation other than to receive the information from staff. So I'm not sure if that qualifies as having a vote on the support of this initiative or not.
Director Wally.
If Director Mooney is correct in that, then I guess my comments are probably out of place. But if we had a motion on in the past, I thought either in Robert's rules or our own procedure, there was something about a 1-year interval between defeating a motion and bringing it back.
Generally, those are considered on bylaws where a public hearing has been held. Is that not correct?
Yes.
There you go. But on policies, that's not the case, and there is no policy on bringing a motion back to be voted on again. Just to clear that up. So do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, we do. And that is for $8,400 regional grant.
For an $8,400 regional grant and aid.
Plus, I believe Director Mulwiney had some additional elements to this.
Plus you have some additional elements to this, Director Mulwiney?
The additional element was that we discuss at our next board meeting, considering appointing a member of our board to that committee.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, folks. Did you have a comment, Director Vanesh?
Thank you, Chair. It's $8,400 for, something that fits into our strategic plan. I think the new information for us today is that every other regional district in the area has supported this. And this is an opportunity for us to donate a small amount of money to take some leadership and show that, we're taking the climate change seriously. I think if we were looking at this in the summer, and the predictions are that this is going to be like a huge drought year and a huge wildfire year, this is something that I know everybody cares about certainly on the mitigation side of things, and that's part of what this covers. And this really is a small amount, and I think it's just really a philosophical thing. Like, can we show some leadership here? Are we willing to invest a little bit of money and some director time to learn new things, bring new ideas to the table, and provide us with options so that we're making really good decisions for the people that we represent.
First, Director Lanyon.
Thank you. Is there a deadline for donation, or is it kind of an open-ended issue for us?
Yeah, I don't think there's a deadline, no.
Okay, I would just suggest that we slide this to next meeting, give us a chance to look at the organization.
Are you saying defer?
I think so.
Okay, that's fine.
Was that a deferral motion?
Yep.
I'll move deferral.
Okay, move to deferral. Director Mulwini?
May I provide some more of the correspondence that I've received for that deferral? Like, how can I provide that to staff so that they can include it?
You can.
Okay.
Because we are going to defer and go to staff report, correct?
If it's voted in favor.
If it's voted in favor. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. 2 addendum items. Wow, there we go. Emergency preparedness. That the addendum items be considered. Do I have a motion, please?
I would move that the addendum be considered.
Thank you. Second? Second. Director Dahl, that was a second. Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, then emergency preparedness, Cortez Island School Emergency Operations Site.
Move receipt.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. That was Director Rice on second. Discussion?
Yeah, so this came out of the School District 72 Liaison Committee, and the Cortez Island School is an emergency location place on Cortez for people to gather. And, one of the challenges often, potentially in an emergency is that there's no power. The other side of this issue is that kids on Cortez are missing sort of 5 to, up to 10 days of school a year. So wanting to explore the idea of backup power generation for that school, both for the education side of things, and this is why there's a partnership here with the school district, and the fact that this is an emergency gathering place for Cortez Island. And I would make an motion that it's not necessarily a generator, but backup power, because that could be done through other means as well.
Okay, so we're still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried.
And I'd like to move that a partnership agreement between the Strathcona Regional District and School District Number 72 be explored for the provision of backup power for the Cortez Island School / emergency operations site.
Second.
Director Mulwini, discussion. So this is not something covered by the school board?
I think at this stage it's really just exploring, how could we solve this issue? This is, it's coming out of the School District 72 Liaison Committee, which is a committee between the school district and SRD.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Do you have a comment? No? Okay, just checking. You had that comment look on your face. Okay. Motion is carried. Closed session. The report from the CEO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And B, that the meeting be closed to the public for consideration of matter deemed to fall within the parameters of subsection 90-1C. G, K, N, M, O of the community charter.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, so there were 2 items that were moved from the public agenda into closed, and in order to make sure they're captured in this motion, we have checked that the first item, that being the matter of
Number 7. Sorry, go ahead. Number 7 was.
yes, number 7 being the. Hang on a moment. The land use planning issues, that is already captured under 90 sub 1 sub K, which is already in the motion. The other matter would be in addition to the motion that's printed before you, and that is to do with potential litigation. And I don't offhand know the section number, but we will include that in the motion if that's the board's wish.
Yep, everybody's good with that? Okay. So we need a motion. Thank you, Director
Second.
Lott. Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Termination. Oh,